And we're live. Happy Liberation Day, Avi.
Happy Liberation Day. Are you enjoying being liberated from your wealth?
Yeah, yeah. I feel liberated from my hopes, my dreams, my money, my future. This is a pretty scary feeling for sure. But I guess the whole point of these tariffs isn't to help out, um,
I mean,
crypto bros like us.
no, it's not, and it's not. I mean, I guess what I'm struggling to figure out is who exactly it's designed to help. But what's really interesting is that we now collectively get to experience something that people haven't really experienced since World War II, which is a complete reimagination of America's place in the world and an upending of world economic order to a degree that, was, I think, basically would have been unheard of 4 years ago at even 2 years ago at this point, just because I don't think people took this tariff stuff that seriously from Trump. I mean, look, even leading conservative voices are like, what the hell are you doing, Trump?
Yeah,
Um, he clearly has a plan in his head. Hopefully the tariffs are not going to go into effect for another 4 days. I think April 6th and April 9th are the two major days that he put out in terms of implementation of tariffs, and so we have a little bit of wiggle room. I think what he's hoping for is that people are going to come out and say, "All right, we don't want to deal with this. Um, you know, we'll take our tariffs off. You take your tariffs off, and then everyone returns to a free trade world." But for now, it's hairy. It's definitely very hairy out there. I think I've been fairly quiet. I don't think I've tweeted in like 2 weeks. That's because I haven't had really anything interesting to say. Um, I think this just goes back to the framework that I always discuss. Right now, the momentum is down. But and we're not clearly at value levels because you have the equity markets puking out below us. You have altcoins sort of bleeding. We're down, we're down about 15% from the highs on Nasdaq. Maybe another 5 to 10% to go. I do think that BTC below 80 is a good buy midterm, but other than that, I mean, I just don't really have any strong convictions in the market. I don't know. I do think we're closer to the end just because it's like, well, what else is there to do at this point? But yeah, I mean, what do you think?
yeah. I think that this may be the flush that marks the bottom. I think this is what you buy. Um, I've been I didn't really see this sell off coming. You're not always right as a trader, so definitely, when you say, all right, this is it, this is the time to buy, and you've said that a couple of times on the way down, there's sort of this risk that your credibility is a bit damaged. But I have been recommending Bitcoin. I haven't recommended other alts, and Bitcoin's not really that deep in the can right now. It's you know we're trading where we were, just like a few hours ago, realistically. Like we're on March 31st, the lows were 81, now we're 83. So it's not really like that crazy to buy this. I think Bitcoin's showing relative strength right now, and I think that you're supposed to take heed of that. Another thing is just having been you'll probably this will probably resonate with you too, Avi. Like just having been a business person, it's I think it's a little bit short-sighted to fault Trump for the immediate impact of these tariffs. Like I can sort of empathize with the idea of having a more nuanced multi-part strategy than just like everything I say and do has to make the stock market rally that minute or that hour. Like I can see maybe a long game being played here where the tariffs are hiked, there's some pain, there's some contraction. Other countries, enter into negotiations, and then ultimately, what ends up happening is, the global trade picture looks a little bit fairer. Tariffs come back down, and in the midst of the turmoil, the Fed has a little bit more scope to cut rates. So, I don't think I don't think we're going to enter like a crazy recession as a result of this. I think it's more just like the kind of situation that you look for when you're trying to, like, as a markets person, like the kind of situation that you try to have to understand the rationale for, rather than like just feel annoyed about your static long portfolio. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. I mean, sort of two points here that I want to make. One is I don't think I think Trump could have played this as a long game a lot better. I think coming out and basically saying I'm going to take on the entire world at the same time is a little silly. I think that was him trying to get things done too fast. If he had gone region, even just region by region, if not country by country, and tried to negotiate with them and used his stick to negotiate, it might have been a smoother ride. But I also understand that he wants he does want there to be pain. I think that's like part of the calculus. Um, but that with all that said, right? We know that he wants there to be pain. But we know that he can't have too much pain because he's the stock market president, and no matter how much I think they jawbone about not looking at the market and looking at the yields, I think that they do care about the market at the end of the day. That's also a barometer for how presidents are measured, and we know this guy has a reasonably large ego. And so if the market's down 30% to start his presidency, I think that he's gonna be looking at that and going, all right, maybe I got to fix this for my image. Because what you don't want is you don't want to get elected in and then immediately have the market nuke because of your policies, and then you kind of lose a mandate to govern because people lose faith in you, and he needs to avoid that situation. Um,
Yeah, that's a really good point.
with all of that said, I mean, ETH is like basically alt outside of maybe some RWA alts that are doing okay. Um, Kind of just fucked across the board. They're just not going to be. There just won't be any buyers for these things at all until Bitcoin gets back above 90. Um, Basically, these things can have these, can have bounces, but they're straight line lower until VIX is down and the market relaxes. I mean, this is just a shit time to be an alt, but
So are you
um,
saying that inverse alt season is still the new alt season?
yeah, I'm saying the inverse alt season looks pretty damn good. I mean, I've got my eye on a few things that I think could still do well. If you just give them a little bit of time. I've got my little RWA basket that I've been talking about. With the Pendles of the world, the Pendle, Ondo, Plume, Curve. I'm sort of waiting on good levels for them to start adding, and I'd be adding that against ETH because I do think these things over the next year are gonna gain a lot of traction just because of the regulatory clarity that's coming. But other than that, I'm pretty much cashed up. Waiting for spots to deploy. Because
That sounds like a good place to be.
what was crazy about today is like how badly the Wall Street Journal rugged the entire complex, including equities, because they
Equities are
came out
down more
with
than Bitcoin. Did you see this? Like equity futures are down 3.2%. Bitcoin's down 2.6%.
yeah, I think some of that's what is it, GME buying,
Yep.
which was good. Keeping that up. But you see the Wall Street Journal, they came out with an article at 4 p.m. that said that the tariffs are going to be 10%, which is lower than estimates, and then everything just gigapumped,
Yep.
and then immediately it came out that that was false,
Oh my God. Yeah, it's
which is
nuts. The
crazy.
whole market was sort of like the market's opened up today. I think everybody was expecting this to be like a, well, it was like a sell the rumor, buy the news kind of thing. And then Trump just came out swinging. I mean, what are the all-in tariffs on China now? Is it like 100%? Obviously, they
No,
announced
it's like
34% new
something
tariff.
50. I think it's 54%. So it's
You,
34% new in addition to the 20% that already is there.
I'm not. Hold on. Let me just quickly. Basically, one of my contacts is Ryan Peterson, who runs Flexport, And he was saying, remember, these duties that were announced are on top of existing duties. So for China, you have original duty of 7.5 to 25% duty from Section 301, 20% from earlier this year, 34% today. And then he said 25% for China's purchases of Venezuelan oil. So that's over 100%. So it's 54% higher to buy Chinese goods than it was before Trump was elected. But there's still other duties floating around there. Like some of these, I'd like to see a list of all-in tariffs. Like these are some savage numbers. And Avi, I want to get your take on this. Like my take is that it will not result in. Like, I think consumption will drop as a result of this. Like I think that economics 101 will kick in, and higher prices will result in lower demand. And ultimately, I think that, like, yes, everybody's profit margins will get squeezed, and yes, prices of certain goods will be higher. But like, I don't think that people are just going to pony up and spend this extra money. I think it's really going to crimp consumption, which will obviously trickle down into other recessionary type looking data. What do you think? You're on mute.
I think that you're right on that point. I mean, as we've discussed before, tariffs don't, it's not just a tax on foreign goods, it's a tax on domestic goods as well. It's just consumption in general. And without wages going up, I mean, what we're going to see is, I think we're actually going to see like a reasonably deflationary effect overall from this. One of the main reasons I think that is because if you look at the levels of consumption, the people earning more than $250,000 a year make up a much larger percentage of consumption than they have in the last 40 years. And with the stock market going down, those are the people that hold assets. I mean, I know, just like myself, like I'm poorer today than I was yesterday, so I'm definitely going to be saving money a bit more, right? So it's like a natural thing, right? It's like I'm looking at buying a house right now. It's like, okay, well, like how much money do I want to spend on a house? The answer is a little bit different today than it was. I mean, not actually, but just as
you feel a little bit.
You feel like, okay, well, maybe I should be a little bit more frugal. Now that I'm 15% poorer than I was 3 months ago.
I think it's funny. Like, I think that what got Joe Biden fired from his job wasn't the dementia, it wasn't the policies, it was just inflation that occurred during his term. And so I think that, the Republicans are going to basically be subject to the same medicine. If we have inflation, I have to take the same medicine. So I kind of agree with you. I think that while, sticker prices on certain foreign goods will inflate, the overall impact of these tariffs on the economy will be, a cooling effect. This won't heat things up. This won't cause consumption. This is like reverse stimulus. So basically, basically what I think is coming next is a tax cut package. I think that, okay, they've basically just introduced a massive tax on consumption. Now they're going to have to cut taxes somewhere else. Otherwise, they're just kind of like people that hike taxes, which is not what they were elected to do. And that's not really their branding. They're the tax cut party. They always have been. So I think we should expect bullish type news for crypto from here. Like if Trump manages to cut taxes to zero for everybody who's earning under 150K, which is the plan, Bessent's gone out and said that, Lutnick's gone out and said that. Like, let's say they get close to that. That's pretty bullish for things that retail likes to YOLO, like crypto. What gets worse from here before the stuff starts to get better? Like it's hard to imagine anything happening that's worse than this, and Bitcoin's holding up pretty well. I don't know. To me, the setup looks bullish.
Yeah, it's a good thought exercise, right? I mean, whenever you have a narrative in the market that's causing fear, you have to ask, well, how old is that narrative? And for a while, I think, which is why we got a bounce for a bit up until Trump announced this whole Liberation Day BS, is that all of the bad news had been absorbed and there wasn't new bad news to come. And then Trump comes out and goes, well, by the way, Liberation Day is coming soon. I'm gonna be tariffing everybody. I was like, oh, market's like, okay, fuck. I guess that's new bad news. We can go back down. But now we're at a point where okay, we're done again. We've hit all the bad news. And so then the questions are like, what are sort of what are the knock-on effects, and then what are the ways out, and then what's more likely. And what do I mean by that? Well, ways out mean how does this situation resolve itself? How does it get better? Uh, it gets better uh, if Trump walks back the tariffs, or if there's negotiation room, um, or if just nothing changes and data remains constant. But both of us think that consumption is going to be hit. Um, I think that basically the only way that they avoid a recession is if they actually do manage to pass like a reasonable amount of tax cuts. Otherwise, I think by definition, like it's very hard to see us not heading into a recession, which might be very possible. They pass big tax cuts and then the tariffs get removed, and then we go up in a straight line forever and always until the end of the Trump presidency. But he has boxed us into a little bit of a tough position here. I mean, these tariffs are pretty extreme, Jonah. These are some pretty nasty tariffs.
These are big ones. I mean, put it this way, Avi. A guy in the chat says, why do you think there won't be a recession? Let me respond to that and respond to what you just said. I don't think there will be a recession because, unlike every other flirtation with recession that I've experienced in my 20 years in markets, this is the first one that's intentional, like self-inflicted, intentional, like predictable. Like normally it's shit out of left field. It's COVID. It's oh my God, like a subprime mortgages. No one even thought about that until it was too late, or flash crash, or all these random things that happened over the years. This is the first time where like a bunch of politicians, policymakers, and technocrats have like gotten together and created a managed recession. And because this is like man-made, like it feels like the timing is so kind of obvious when you look at it that way. It's like if you're going to take some painful medicine, using this medicine analogy, you do it right at the beginning when you're still on your honeymoon period and people are giving you a little bit of grace, your first 100 days. You don't just like let this malaise continue into the midterms and then get destroyed, and then let it continue another 2 years and then get thrown out of office in disgrace, having not completed your agenda and having your legacy tarnished or destroyed. Like, no, you rip the Band-Aid off while you can, which is immediately, and then you start to rebuild the foundations that you were elected to rebuild. So this is not a partisan comment. Like, this is not something that's like me trying to defend Trump. I'm just sort of like reverse engineering what's happening here. And the reason why I think that we won't end up in a recession is because since this was created in an entirely manufactured, artificial fashion, it can be unwound just as easily. None of these tariffs can't be unwound. None of this is creating a beast that the Trump administration can't control. Foreign countries will always be happy to sell their goods to America, the world's largest consumer, at any price, tariffs or no tariffs. It's not like this is doing any permanent damage. So if we start to like get into real trouble territory for the S&P, I don't think Trump's just going to like stick it to the American economy. Like it's not just rich people who own assets. It's like businesses are assets. And if everybody's stock price is in the toilet, like hiring slows down, wages get cut, people get fired. Like it's bad times. Like Trump's not an idiot. The people around him, for the most part, are aware of these basic economic realities. So, just in sum, because this is man-made, it can be undone just as quickly as it was done. And it probably will be if things get too detrimental, which maybe they will, but I doubt that this spirals into something crazy.
Yeah, I think, what you hope for is that it just doesn't spiral out of control, right? I mean, it's one thing. Some things end up being sticky, right? For example, if there's a significant amount of job loss, and that's what prompts everyone to be like, okay, fuck, now we're heading into a recession. We should probably reverse these tariffs or do something about it. Some of that stuff's sticky, right? Like some of those jobs just won't be coming back. So there is, there's I think a time limit on this sort of stuff. I do tend to err on the side of yes, this is a flush, and this will be over. A lot of people right now, like in this moment, are pointing out that BTC is holding. Basically, every single time I see Nasdaq down a ton and BTC is holding, that just means that there's a delay because there's an idiosyncratic buyer in the market. And this time we actually know the idiosyncratic buyer, it's GME. So basically what I'm trying to say is like don't put too much weight on that. I'm not a buyer at 83. I'm a buyer at 78. And I know that's 5%. It's not a huge difference, but if you're a trader, it makes sense, right? Like this is actually a phenomenal market if you want to trade. All you have to do is just trade at extremes. Like if you get $1 billion of liquidations, or if you get a 10% down day from ETH, or an 8% down day from BTC, which is very possible, that's a buy. That's like a all right. Let's wave it in and then sell some on the pop. I mean, and this market, I think you just have to remember that this market is the market that you take profit in very quickly. Like basically, you get a little bit of pop, and then you're out. You just shove it out, and that's how I'm looking at trading this market right now. I mean, honestly, I think like getting short here still is like you can honestly probably short ETH at this point, get down to like 1,500.
I feel like ETH is going to triple digits. Where does the Ethereum Foundation get liquidated again? I wonder. I haven't been following it.
I don't know, but
like 1,200 or something was the rumor. We're trading 1,788 right now. That asset is just cursed. It's down 6%.
Yeah, totally cursed. I mean, like I can easily see 1,500 shortly in that thing, even if BTC holds. Like if BTC holds the low, but it sells off to 77. I mean, I think ETH is at 1,500 in that case.
I would say lower than that,
which is very possible. I mean, some puts are probably, if you're worried about your portfolio, puts are phenomenal here because it's this type of situation where you just have to be humble with your own skills, and you got to say, I don't know what's going to happen. This is a once in a 80-year event, and you should probably not take massive swings or do anything too crazy with your portfolio unless something like truly nuts is happening in the market. And minus 3% from BTC today is not truly nuts.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Equally, as a response to that take, if we get a flush, that's the flush that like let's say that Bitcoin really flushes. Let's say it goes down to 75K. I would think it'd be crazy not to buy that. It's what news is going to come out next?
With like, what money, Jonah?
You said you're all in cash, Avi. I mean,
you've been buying the dips. I mean, I
haven't blown my entire wad. Let's put it that way. Like I'm careful about not blowing my entire wad. I have made some money on shorts. I've traded in and out of.
If you need a place to stay, let me know, Jonah. Just
Avi, it's over. Let's throw in the towel. No, I mean honestly, like I'm fine because I follow the advice that we give again and again on this podcast, which is don't use leverage. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. We're still above like Trump's election levels. I was happy then, slightly happier now, just disappointed that we're not like immediately mooning into his first 100 days. Now, I just like, I can see why the world is pissed off. The market's participant world is pissed at Trump right now. Let's just sit here and war room this situation. What's something that could happen that could make this worse? Like, for example, let me just think of something crazy. Let's say that China is like, all right, we're just hiking our tariffs another 50%. and then Trump responds by hiking tariffs on China by another 50%. And now suddenly, like, your cheap Chinese crap on Amazon is, more than twice as expensive as it used to be. Right. I guess that's the big risk. That's what you're afraid of. If you're, you can short altcoins with confidence. A lot of them are just going to zero. But Bitcoin or stocks, if you short that here, what are you hoping for? You're hoping for that, right?
I mean, what you're really hoping for? I mean, Bitcoin's just going to follow equities at this point. So really, what you're asking is, what stops equities from going lower? And equities right now are just pricing in a reasonable contraction in GDP because of lower trade and lower consumption. At least I think that's what's happening, and that is very plausible. I mean, here's the reality of the situation. We don't know what the fuck is going to happen with these tariffs. Like, we can guess, but when's the last time that we had tariffs this extensive put on goods? I mean, there are arguments to be made that it doesn't matter, that a lot of people are reasonably price, a lot of this consumption is reasonably price insensitive, and what it actually eats into is it eats into the savings of Americans. I don't know. That's a stupid argument, in my personal opinion, but it is an argument that you can make, because who the fuck knows when it comes to this. You can maybe it produces American innovation, and suddenly, like, there are American companies that figure out in the next 6 months how to produce the same Chinese slop at lower cost because they're forced to, right? Or because they're putting R&D into it. I mean,
maybe a bunch of companies build factories here, or
like, yeah, exactly. Like, genuinely, like, who the fuck knows? But that's kind of the issue, right? Like, the issue is that nobody knows. And with that in mind, like, the most likely outcome is that you do end up in a recession, because you do have a massive hit to consumption, at least in the short run. And so I think that's what the market is responding to. Like, that's what everyone is so nervous about it. And you kind of need, like, you need the ship turned around by stimulus in some way, right?
Yeah, and maybe that stimulus is coming. I mean, I don't think it's hopium to say that. I think it would be weird if they've been pretty open, the administration, about how they're not just going to hike taxes and then walk away without doing anything else. Like, this is all part of an extremely well telegraphed agenda, most of which is relatively stimulatory. No taxes on tips, no taxes on any income under 150K. Like, we're going to lower income taxes across the board. We're going to give you bigger state and local income tax deductions. Like, we're going to pump domestic manufacturing. We're going to move unproductive people in the government into productive parts of the private economy. So, again, like, if you're short right now, what are you hoping for? With all of the information that's been priced in today, lower earnings are priced in, lower consumption is priced in. We have perfect information on what happened in the past. What you're hoping for, if you set a fresh short on Bitcoin and SPX at current levels, and those two are trading with very high correlation.
Yeah, I mean, what you're hoping for on BTC, I think, is like, okay, so I wish I could share a chart here, because.
All right, let me just finish the sentence. You're hoping that the government loses control of this. You're hoping that this spirals out of control, and even if even if stocks are down 10%, the government brings the tariffs back down to zero, that some beast has been let out of its cage that cannot be controlled. That's what you're hoping for if you set a fresh short.
Well, hoping. I mean, betting on.
I think
it's a better phrasing. Hopefully, you're not hoping for anything when you trade. But like on Bitcoin, if you go to the 3-day chart, it's actually just such a clear short setup. From a technical perspective, you basically get to stop out above 88, and you get to target the previous highs of 73. So you have a 7% move to the top side, 10% move to the downside. Seems reasonable. Like, that that seem and you have the momentum on your side, which makes the risk reward better. That just seems like a reasonable trade that a reasonable trader could take. With SPX, I think what you're betting for is you're betting on a one touch of 5,000, and you can get out. And I don't, you know, the way that this is going to play out is all of the fears are going to be front loaded. Like this is gonna end by Monday of next week. My personal opinion. Like whatever price action is going to happen is going to get priced in by Monday of next week. We're going to get some move over the weekend, which is likely going to be negative if there's no change in the news, and then you get the flush on Monday, and then you're going up straight. That's my take, because you need more bad news to come out. It can't just be the same thing over and over and over and over. It's got to
That's what I'm
be.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't agree more. I think I agree with Yuan Liu in the chat. SPX touching 5,000 would be a gift. What matters is the second derivative of the news, not the news that just came out, right? Like, is the news going to get worse from here or better? Hard to imagine it gets worse. I don't know. I tend to have a bullish bent because over the course of my career, like I started in 07, there was the immediate global financial crisis. And then the stock market basically rallied in a straight line from 666 all the way up to 6000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, nearly a 10xer. So I built my career over a period of time where if I had been a perma bear or even a perma range trader on risk assets, I wouldn't have been able to sustain my 20-year career. I would have gotten blown out. So I tend to have a bullish bent, but there's method behind the madness. Like, it's not just that, I grew up over a bull run, so I'm a bull. No, it's like something very important happened in 08, something game changing, like as important, I would say, as the US going off the gold standard in the 1970s. What happened in 2008 was that the United States of America and governments around the world in parallel decided to underwrite risk in the economy. That was sort of like a first. And I don't think that genie can be put back in the bottle without stocks going straight back down to 666. So I think that if things really get bad, which this isn't, like, having seen actual recessions and actual crazy sell-offs, this move in stocks from 6,000 to 5,500 doesn't seem that crazy to me. Like, this feels totally tolerable. And in Bitcoin, going from $108,000 for 1 unit of our magic internet money to $83,000 for 1 unit of our magic internet money, like that's not crazy, right? If things get actually crazy, I think we're backstopped. And this just isn't that crazy, frankly. I think Trump was right to rip off this Band-Aid. Sorry, not right in the sense that, like, I agree with what he's doing, because I don't necessarily, but like his calculation that he could get away with it now will probably be proven correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically what you're trying to say is that this will be a short-lived crash. Like, this is not the destruction of an economic system that's going to take, there's in your words, it's not going to be one failure, then another failure, then another failure, then another failure. There's not going to be a Lehman and an AIG. There's just going to be this is going to happen. Yeah. There's going to be a cascade, and then we're done. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think the only thing is figuring out where we're done. And that's what we've been trying to debate is, like, when does the bad news end?
Maybe what you're supposed to do is stay on the sidelines and then start buying good news when it comes out. Like, when the administration starts doing things that are supportive of markets, then you can start buying. I don't know, but then they might come out and do another.
You know what's done really well? Gold.
Yeah, 3,200.
Like, gold is insane.
Remember when the target for Bitcoin was a gold market cap of 10 trillion?
Mm-hmm.
Now gold is a 20 $2 trillion asset.
It's hold on, let's see. Like gold is 30. It's just so insane, man.
One-way train.
Like just straight one way, like over the last year, just straight up. I'm glad I own a ton of gold.
You do?
Yeah,
Why? I don't
I do.
understand that one. I've never been a very good gold trader.
I don't own gold in like my investment portfolio. I own a bunch of physical gold. And by a
Oh,
bunch, I mean I own like a substantial amount of money in physical gold, but not like a huge percentage of my personal portfolio is in this physical gold. I
my wife
just
owns the gold in this family.
I
Not me.
just think it's it's good. You never know when you're gonna need it.
Do you have like gold
Uh,
bars, or are you just talking about like earrings and wearables and stuff?
so I have a bunch of like stuff that I bought from India, like earrings, bangles, necklaces, all that sort of fun stuff.
I could see you and some
But
of the other crypto nouveau riche guys, like in their late 20s, early 30s. Like you guys act like NBA players in their rookie season. You know, like
all
like
right,
I'm not going to name any names or dox anybody, but you're like, oh yeah, I love the gemstones, like the
yeah,
gold.
uh-huh,
You're you're literally
funny.
like Kevin Durant in Uncut Gems. You know,
Look, I'm on top of the game. What can I say? I like to treat myself.
it's true. It's better to
Um,
have gold earrings than fart coin right now.
anyway,
For sure.
long story short for the listeners, bid Bitcoin when it's collapsing in on itself, preferably between 73 and 78K, and just wait. Short Ethereum to zero, buy some puts, and then throw darts at your watch list and pick any alt to short, and you should be happy. Except for the RWA ones.
Yeah, I think some of these shorts, like look at my my favorite bellwether for shorts, the thing that's down the most on my entire board today. Can you guess what token it is, Avi?
Fartcoin,
Um, actually,
Whiff.
whiff. Yeah, I was looking at whiff. Whiff is
Nice.
down 12%. This thing is just the smoothest death spiral I've ever seen. I don't have
I'm
a
honestly, it's like it pisses me off that I closed my short at $1. I shorted it at 120. It went to $1. I was like, 20%. That's great. Fuck. Would have been
I
nice to hold
reset my
that.
whiff short. I closed it for a while, then I reset it because without a whiff short, I felt naked. Sometimes when
Yeah.
you have one of those positions that you take off and you just feel like you feel like
Yeah.
feeling naked's one way to describe it. Another way is like just something feels missing in your life without that position, like I don't know. I kind of feel that way about the whiff short.
Yeah. That's fair. All right, dude.
All right. You ready to call it?
I'm ready to call it. Let's do another one later this week.
Yeah. Let's record on Sunday like we usually do.
We'll record on Sunday.
We had to do something. It's an emergency stream for this crazy thing that happened.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Adios.
Adios. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.